The parting remarks of a man called Wafula Chebukati, the chairman of the IEBC, the outgoing chairman of the IEBC, have rubbed salt on wounds that are yet to heal. And that is what my show is about today. Because those remarks by Wafula Chebukati, what he said, considering what happened last August, ile karata wa Kenya walichezewa after all that, and then you make those remarks, I don't know what to say. You know, it is possible that you become too smart and too arrogant. Yeah. That when you have done something, some evil, you're caught up with just because of your smartness, in quotes, and arrogance. Yani, I don't know how some people live with themselves. I don't know how some people get sleep at night. Yeah. Because you do something and you know what you have done, and then you go to make remarks to rub salt on the wounds of the vast majority of Kenyans. What are you really trying to do? Huh? What are you doing? What are you showing us? Anyway, what I was saying is that it's possible to be so smart and so arrogant that whatever you did is finally exposed. And you end up getting exposed because of your smartness, in quotes, and arrogance. There was a very interesting murder case where some people were kidnapped, actually children, yeah, na wakamalizwa kabisa. And the perpetrator of the crime joined the search, for the victims, and assisted police, and was very close to the investigation. In fact, they tried to get as close to the investigation as possible. Why? So that, the human brain is strange, so that you can laugh at the cops as they make wrong conclusions, so that you can also know how close they are to catching him. Yeah, but he was sure they'd always be very far. And this suspect overdid it, and investigators started being suspicious. Why is this man so interested in this? What is his connection to the crime? And to cut a long story short, they ended up catching him. And it is clear they may never have caught up with him had he not decided to be too smart. Let us not even go into the spiritual. You cause so many people to shed tears. You cause so many people pain. And then you decide that is not enough. You'll come back later and rub salt on their wounds. What do you expect is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? Tunasema wa Kenya, it's okay, let's ignore the spiritual. Nothing will happen. Let's get on with this show, folks. Twende kazi. The IEBC chairman, the outgoing IEBC chairman, Wafula Chebukati, has written to President William Samoei Ruto, and he has appealed to the president to set up an investigation, a thorough probe into what happened at Bomas during the election tallying. Okay? the IEBC chairman says that there are so many people who were out to subvert, frustrate the will of the people at Bomas, the will of the people which Chebukati announced. The results he came with after going for a long break, which had been tallied by his assistant, the will of the people, those results, yeah, there are so many people out to frustrate them. Okay, this is what Chebukati said. Now, first of all, let us clear the confusion, yeah, and understand where this is coming from. Okay, let us forget the pain that it is causing so many people for a few minutes, and let us coldly analyze what is going on here. You see, these remarks by Chebukati, I'm sure, have confused very many Kenyans. Anasema investigate. Kwa hivyo kuna watu walikuwa wanajaribu kuiba uchaguzi. Kwa hivyo zile matokeo walitupatia ni correct, ni ukweli. That's what people are thinking. Not many people, but some people. And that's the whole objective. And don't fool yourself for a minute that this ploy is new. No, it's very old. Let me give you a quick example. After Thomas Joseph Odhiambo Mboya, better known as Tom Mboya, was gunned down during the day at about lunchtime on the streets of Nairobi, yeah, those who understood Kenyan politics at the time, yeah, even with very limited knowledge, already had a suspect in mind before looking at any shred of evidence. I mean, it was so obvious. This man was a threat to Jomo Kenyatta. Everybody knew that. People were calling Mboya a president in waiting. Yeah, abroad, of course, beyond the borders of Kenya. Nobody would dare do that within the borders of Kenya. Oh, yes. But here's what happened that was very fascinating. President Jomo Kenyatta announced to Kenyans, no stone would be left unturned in finding, yeah, the killer of Mboya. Does that sound familiar? Oh, yes. And then Jomo Kenyatta added that he had ordered, directed, that they send out as many policemen as possible to look for this criminal, this murderer. If my memory serves me right, he said that send out 100 policemen to look for this suspect, this man who had messed up the nation called Kenya. Now remember, at that time, not many Kenyans had gone to school. Yeah, not many Kenyans could write their own names. True story. Yeah, so you can imagine what very many Kenyans thought when they heard the president saying what he said. Yeah, the government can't be involved. They're sending out so many policemen to look for the suspect. How can they be involved? Yeah, and they're so eager to find this suspect. No, there's no way the government would have had anything to do with this. Now, of course, it was a very smart ploy of the intelligence community at that time, yeah, because this was a very well organized operation, planned for months, maybe even years. Yeah, nothing was left to chance. If you can catch my series on Mboya, it was more than an assassination, which is on this channel. Yeah, I'll put a link in the description area below. If you can catch it, then you can understand a lot of things. But back to our topic today. It was a ploy. Okay? And Wafula Chebukati is playing the same game in 2023. The quick example I've just given you was from the year 1969. Well, in 2023, a man called Wafula Chebukati is playing the same tactics. Now, whoever came up with this idea needs to understand that, for starters, In the year 2023, Wakenya wamesoma. Tena wengine wamesoma sana. Wakamaliza vitabu zote. And there are a few very obvious things, even for somebody who doesn't have any information outside the public domain. Yeah. I mean, these voters who lost, these voters who are less, were enough to threaten to bring down media houses in Kenya. Why? Because they simply boycotted television, radio, watching their TV news, etc., etc. And there have been consequences. Yeah, because advertisers monitor very closely the kind of viewership programs get on TV. And very super fascinating. In fact, this should be breaking news. It is just mind-boggling. Many of those advertisers have migrated in large numbers to, guess where? Right here on YouTube. And I challenge you to do even an experiment on your own. Yeah? Just look at the videos on Kenyan politics and their views and what they're talking about. And then you'll quickly be able to tell where the vast majority of voters were. Very simple. This is not 1969. This is 2023. Watu wako na makaratasi. People have papers. And people can think for themselves. So you stand up at this function and you're talking to people who can think for themselves. And you say what you said. Si hata afadhali ungenyamaza. There are so many other things to talk about. Why rub salt on the wounds of people? You'd have talked about so many things that had happened in the IEBC. For instance, why didn't you talk about 2017? Why didn't you shed a bit of light on a man called Chris Musando? Yeah, who used to work for you in 2017. What happened to him? Maybe you should have told us something about that. Or even better, maybe you should have suggested that the president sets up a thorough investigation to find out what happened to Chris Musando. That would be much better. That would make much more sense. Actually, this whole manenos is very simple. Instead of wasting taxpayers' money setting up commissions of inquiry, setting up probes to probe the obvious, yeah, when all you need to do is to go back into the history of Kenya. Very simple. Go back to the year 2007. Yeah, the last time that commissioners were under so much pressure. Yeah, and the chairman of the Electoral Commission at that time was a man who was called Samuel Kivuitu. Yeah, the late. And then you ask yourself a very simple question. Why was there a problem at Bomas in 2007? Answer me. It was because the results Kivuitu announced, and he admitted later, he didn't really know who won. The results he announced were contrary to the way the vast majority of Kenyans voted. Period. Very simple. And therefore, following this train of thought, without fear or favor, without any emotions, the problems that Chebukati and the commissioners faced in 2022 must have had something to do with the results not being consistent with how the vast majority of people voted. Exactly the same as it was in the year 2007. Very simple, straightforward. That's the truth. In my opinion, it is a very bad omen. Indeed, it is a very serious spiritual mistake. Yeah, to rub salt on wounds that you yourself caused. I don't think I want to say anything more about this matter. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.